Welcome everyone, today we have a new Diablo 4 Rerolling guide. As you guys can see behind me, we have a number of Excels, and this is the latest updated Excel tool to help us reroll. This will help us predict how much it will cost with each of the rolls that is coming with your rolls. This will also help you to see the rolls and also probabilities for each of the classes, what is the rolls for different type of gears and also item, and also what is your chance of getting those. And finally, with the latest updated tool, you can see that which of the classes will help you to roll better stats. For example, if you're looking for physical damage, it is preferable to go with Rogue or Necromancer. But if you're rolling for damage with Fortified, it is better to roll on Barbarians, which I'll explain to you guys why, how to get a booster rate with rerolling for different stats and also different effects. Now, similar to all the rerolling guide, at the end of the video, I'll use some of my gears to do a live rerolling. So I use the concept, the logic, and also the method to show you guys how to reroll for the cheapest way of getting some ideal stats for your class and also for your build. So now coming over to Excel, a very big thank you for Halfmind for building those Excels and also updating them. So if you have seen the previous Excels, we also have 2 videos previously to talk about rerolling. Now, if you guys haven't seen those videos, I really do recommend to have a look at those because I will be using some of the method in this particular video, but I will be skipping through the explanation. So make sure you use the links below to look at those 2 videos, which will talk about how to buy certain items so it's easier to reroll, how to do better rerolls, and how to save lots of gold with rerolling when you're first rolling, second rolling, or third rolling. So there's a lot of good information on those 2 previous videos. Now, in those 2 videos, we have talked about this particular Excel, which will look into the affixes of different gears and also different items. So this video, we're looking into an updated Excel with Halfmind, and this will help you to get a better chance with different classes when you're rerolling. Now, before we dive into the Excels, make sure you guys know how to get Excel and use this one for implement your own values and also change the stats. So come over to Files, guys, go over to Make a Copy. Once you make a copy of this Excel, you can be changing the stats in Excel, which will be very important as we go through different parts. Now, in order to understand the first logic of what does it mean by certain classes have an increased rate or higher chance of getting a desirable affix. So here you can see the first table, which I'll enlarge a little bit so you guys can see more clearly. So in the first table Halfmind has introduced, this is a dynamic table to help you to determine if you're looking for a certain affix on a certain item, where should you find it on what class. So what does it mean? So let me log out of the game and explain to you guys this way. So notice I have a Barbarian and also I have a Druid. So this is of course cross-seasonal, right? And you can make different alt characters. I made all the Druids for my stash you can see over here. So let's say if I'm going to the OCCULTIST with my Druid, I can reroll my items on a certain affix. And coming back over here, for example, if I'm looking for a weapon with poison damage bonus on the weapons, I should be rerolling on the Druid. So logging into my Druid, you can see that currently if I'm looking for a weapon with poison bonus damage, it is better to log onto a Druid account and send the item into the stash and give to this character to be rerolling for this preferable stats. There's 2 reasons behind this. One is that other classes might not have poison damage bonus. The other one is classes like Barbarians tend to have less special effects bonus, which means they have higher chance of rolling for other affixes, like Fortify, like close damage reduction. Those is really good to reroll on the Barbarians. So the first bigger bonus coming from this particular guide is that you can be making alt characters and sending over your rare items on those alt characters. And depending on the class and also limit amount of affixes on those class, you can be getting a booster rate for those items. Now, just to show you guys a general example, let's say if I'm rolling for affix on the Barbarian, it will take me about 11% chance of getting what I'm looking for. And this is a similar case for the Druid. But if we go to the Necromancer, if we go to the Rogue, notice the rates are different for different classes, and especially for the sources, which have a lot of different affixes. So if you're rerolling a common stats on the boots, you don't want to be rerolling on the sources. You want to be rerolling on a class that with higher probability to get one of the common stats like movement speed. Now, before we dive into this part, there's a few drawbacks of going to different classes. The first thing is each of the class will have different main stats. For example, let's have a look at this Axe. If I'm trying to reroll for willpower on the Axe, which is already came with it, if I'm trying to reroll on willpower, it is better to roll on the Druid, because if I roll on the Barbarians or the sources, I'll get intelligence, I'll get strength. So if you're rolling for the main stats of your character, still reroll on your character. And secondly, guys, if you're using this method, keep in mind, you want to be rerolling on your class for your special class passive. For example, if I'm going to reroll on my amulet for Envenom, which is a very popular one with the Druid, you should be rerolling on your own class, because there's no way your sources can get those passives, right? So if I'm going for Envenom for my Druid class, you have to reroll on your class. And this is kind of straightforward, but I thought I'd give you guys a warning before you miss this out. So now that once you understand that different classes can give you a better rate, Halfmind have made a small summary. So if you're rerolling for common stats, what do I mean by common stats? So if I come over to the armors, notice there's some common stats that comes with all the items, like boots with movement speed, or maybe pants with maximum life, and maybe pants with damage reduction. So those are common stats that is available as the baseline affix for all the classes. And if you're rerolling for those more common stats, it is ideally to make alt character, unlock the Oculus, and roll on the right character class for a better rate. So for the helmet and also offhand, the best class to go for the common stats are the Druid. For the gloves, the pants, and also the boots, it is preferable to go with Barbarian for the more common stats. Now, in case you guys are not sure which stats are the common stats, which stats are not, if we come over to the next table, you can see that we go things into more detail. This is more dynamic. So if you're looking for a certain stat like Fortify Generation, you can see that this dynamically tells you which class can be rerolling on Fortify Generation with a higher rate. This is quite important, because if I'm going for stats on the reins and I'm going for, let's say, physical damage, it is recommended to go with Barbarians, right? Pretty straightforward. If I'm going with poison damage, I should be rerolling on the Druid. Now, because of this utility and also availability, you can see for the baseline, this comes back to the sources for most of the common stats for the amulet. And then if I'm going with fortified damage reduction, I should roll it on this one for the Barbarians. So what I mean by that, so let's say if I'm looking at which amulet, this is probably a good amulet. Let's say if I'm trying to get fortified damage reduction on amulet by rerolling away the human damage. So I should be making an alt character that is a Barbarian with Oculus unlocked, and I should be rerolling this item on that character. Once I get a higher chance of fortified damage reduction, and I'll give the character or give the item back to my Druid to use on the Druid. Now, once you guys understand this logic, and if you guys do have the time to make the alt characters, which won't take too long, just unlock the Oculus around level 20. If you get a booster friend, it will take like 5 or 10 minutes maximum. And once you have those characters ready, you can enjoy a bonus rerolling rate of what items and also what affixes you design. So this is very good and very handy for Halfmind. And a big thank you for him for sharing this one. Now, as we keep going with the tabs, you can see on the second type, Halfmind has made a small estimation of the rerolling cost. So what does he mean by that? So if we come over to the characters, and let's say if I'm rerolling on this ring, the first cost is about 64,000, right? So if I change the values with 64,000, and this will tell me it is likely the next few rolls will cost me this much. So once I spend 64,000 to reroll once, the second roll might cost me 32,000. And you can see the incremental cost of the rolls up to 10 rolls. And this will give you a rough estimate of how much gold you need if you're rerolling this 10 times. So why would you be rolling this 10 times? It's because if we come over to the next tab, let's say if we go over to the Druid tab. So here I'll minimize the size a little bit. Let's go to 90%. So if I'm going for the next tab and I'm going for my rings for accessories, and I'm going for a critical chance on my rings, and this means that it is likely it will take me 10 times to roll into what I wanted. Now, if you go back to our previous videos, we have talked about there are some stats that seems to be appearing more often. So this is with a critical chance on the rings and critical chance on the gloves, and also attack speed on the gloves. But over here, we're assuming those appears evenly. So here it will take me about 10 or 11 times to get what I wanted. And knowing that together with 11 times this will cost me this much of gold, it is quite helpful to be prepared for this. Now, if you actually get the item to be upgraded to level 5, which we don't recommend, when you're rerolling, this will cost you more gold. And if you have a legendary aspects on this one, this will double the gold cost. And if you upgrade the item to level 5 and also made a legendary aspects, like an item like this one, this will cost a lot more gold, right? So this means that you should be rerolling on the rare items without upgrades. But if you do, this will still help you. So let's say if I round to reroll on this chest, which is already max rolled, but I know this will cost me about 1 million gold, right? So I know this chest will cost me 1 million gold. and I can insert the value in, but notice that I think this is only working with the first row. So make sure you insert the values with the first row. I don't think it works with the other rows. So if this is not the first row, this calculator might not be able to estimate correctly, but I think it still estimates correctly on the rings. So it doesn't work that this chest is already rerolled a few times. So because I'm already into the, like let's say, 5th or 7th row, it is not as accurate if you put this on the first row. So keep that in mind with the chest. So what I mean by that is, if I put a chest in with 1 million gold, notice the next row you set the second row be 5 million gold. But this only works if this value is the first row. But this is not the first row, right? This is like the 5th row. So this is like the rows between those two. So keep in mind, guys, the calculator only works when you put in the first row. Now finally, let's briefly talk about the class variations over here and how would you use this one. So it is quite straightforward. You pick the choice of item you're looking for. Let's say you're going for chest and you're looking for one affix. Let's say if I'm looking for damage reduction, and let's say it's close damage reduction. If I'm only looking for that, it will take me about 5% chance of getting this one. So about 20 tries. And this is incredibly difficult. And similarly for the druid, if I'm looking for close or core damage with the weapons, it also take me about 10% chance of getting what I wanted. Now this is more helpful, guys, if you combine the rates over here and estimate the cost. So usually the initial cost is about 60,000 with the item level of items, and this will show you how much it cost, and then you can look into the rates to estimate those. Now before we go to the next part, do keep in mind those rates and also affixes were made previously, and I helped a little bit with Halfmind, but he did most of the job and most of the stats. Do keep in mind, guys, Blizzard has been adding different affixes onto items and also gears, which we don't kind of need. So the rates you're seeing here could be even lower in the real game in the upcoming seasons and also in the new seasons, because they keep adding affixes that we don't need, which will dilute the pool of what you need and make it harder to get what you get. So if you're not getting what you want in 10 times, keep in mind of that. Now, if you guys haven't subscribed, it is a really good time to do so, because I'll be covering tons of Diablo 4 related topics and also videos and also guides. We'll be looking to the top meta builds, non-meta builds, leveling up, and also Paragon tricks. We're also looking to the latest events and also official updates and also changes to different characters and also different builds in the game. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and also turn the notification on, because a lot of you who are watching the videos have not subscribed. You can see 80% of the viewers who are watching our videos have not subscribed. So make sure you subscribe to stay tuned for the latest update for Diablo 4. Now coming over to a live example of me rerolling for my gears. So first of all, guys, I'll give you guys a few reminders of a previous guide. Notice that this ring I bought, I'm going to reroll on the critical chance. So in one of our previous videos, we talk about this more often. We talk about how to actually buy items in, on Discord and also places. Because if you look into how to buy items, you will be buying items with a certain stats. I don't usually buy ring with these stats like I'm looking for vulnerability or critical damage. I know it's much harder to roll for those. I'm usually buying rings that I only need to reroll for the critical chance. And you can see for all of my rings, guys, I'm rerolling for the critical chance, because it is much easier to get this one to 7.5%. Now on the second tip I have with you guys, so we're going to start, but before we start rerolling, guys, I do believe this ongoing bug which I reported with you guys in the previous videos, it's still ongoing. So if you have the increase of gold found from the vendors and it's 15%, right, this will make my rerolling 15% more costly. So let me show you guys what I mean by that. So let's say if I put my chest in for reroll, I'll put the pens in for more easy. So notice that if I reroll these pens, it will cost me 2.6 million, right? So keep in mind of this number. So what I'm going to do now is, I don't know why they changed the gold to 30,000 too. I'm going to unpack this one to 0, right? So now if I come back to my pens, ta-da! My reroll cost just go down by 15%. So if you're rerolling, you need to know this one. We have talked about this previously, and it cost me, 150,000 gold to unpack this one, but still worth it, because here I save a lot more gold because of rerolling. Now, because it is quite costly to unpack those ones, what I do now is I usually group up several items I want to reroll. So this way I reroll everything, and when I'm about to sell items, I go back and pack this back. It is quite annoying, and I made a video to warn you guys about this one. In case you guys didn't know, you're still wasting 15% gold if you don't unpack this one. So let's start with this example for my rings. I got a ring with a brutal socket to try a different gem, because my current rings, they have different sockets, right? So here I'll be rolling away cold damage, and I want critical chance. So usually on the first go, let's say it's 64,000. So coming over here, let's have a look at our calculator over here. So 64,000. Let's see how accurate our estimation is. I don't think it will be 100%, but let's see. So I'm going to reroll once, looking for critical chance. So notice here, I'm not getting the critical chance I wanted. I'm not going to select this one, because if you pick no change, the cost of gold will be much cheaper. I mean, not that much cheaper, but slightly cheaper. So if you don't need the stats, guys, don't pick them. So now notice that once I pick this one, it cost me 32,000, right? The estimation over here is very close. So here we're going to reroll once more. Oh, perfect, 5%. So now I click 5%. And I'm done. So the next one is 38,000, and this is so close and very accurate for the estimations. Now, in case you guys are wondering, so over here in the previous rates and also probability tables, we assume that the affixes appears evenly. But if you look at my previous guide videos, I'm actually assuming affixes are not appear evenly. So that's why I'm buying gloves and also buying rings and rerolling on the critical chance, because there's much higher rate of getting those chances on those affixes on those items. And this is why I only buy my rings without critical chance. And this way I can easily reroll into 5% into 7.5% critical chance for those. Now finally, let's do some more examples. I'm trying to reroll onto this particular amulet. It is a pretty good amulet, and it could be quite flexible. I could save for a different class. So maybe I reroll on this one. So let's do this one as an example. Maybe I can save this one on different class I'm playing, because this is kind of universal, right? So here I'm looking for this amulet. I have Envenom for the Druid. Cooldown is good, armor is good. I'm looking for the Werewolf. I only have 8 of the rerolling dust, right? So here I'm looking for the Werewolf armor. And let's see if I can get it. We do not get it. So if I don't get it, I go no change. Now just as an example, so if we come back over here for the accessories, if we go to amulet, notice that it's incredibly low to get what I wanted. To get a werewolf, it's about 4%. And I don't think I'll be getting this one within those tries. So let's try maybe 3 more times. Oh, it's Werebear. Werewolf, guys, not Werebear. The spirit cost reduction is not bad, to be honest. If I'm going with this for maximum roll spirit cost reduction, it is not bad. It is quite good, so I might just go with this one. But keep in mind, once I go with this one, the cost of rerolling will be slightly higher. I will keep this one for now because it is a maximum roll. And one is defensive, one is more utility with spirit cost. I'm planning to go with a werewolf build for this one, or any of the build. So this one could be good. And this is my live demonstration. And hopefully this helps you guys to understand how to reroll and get a cheaper cost to get a better rate, and also how to save a lot of gold with rerolling. And of course guys, if I'm about to sell items, I still pack this one back. As long as I can make my gold back, this is still worth it. Now hopefully you guys found this rerolling guide helpful. In the future, if we do see more things get changed and also more updates for the rerolling, I will be making a new guide, and hopefully Halfmind will be helping me to update this one. I do think the latest 2 Excels are very handy. If you haven't seen those Excels, guys, make sure you see the previous videos to look into how to use those in more details. So today we'll talk about the new Excel with the bonus rate for different classes. And yes guys, if you do have any tips and also advices in the game for any part of the game, let us know in the comments below or send me a direct message. And if you guys like to make Excels, let's work together to make better Excels and also better tools for the community for Diablo 4. Now before you go, and if you guys didn't know, we have a new YouTube channel. And if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe and check out the behind the scenes and also fun clips and also more stories about us. And then you get to know me a little more personally instead of just reading the news and also the games, right? So I want to share a little bit more with you guys. So make sure you check this channel out if you're interested about Matt and also Uni. She's really funny too, and she's really shy. So I want to give her a surprise and do a shout out for the new channel to get some subscribers. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys next time.